Before cities hummed with electricity and nights glowed with artificial light, a single flame ruled the darkness. The flame was more than illumination. It was comfort, survival, ritual, and time itself. Its quiet flicker witnessed ancient prayers, guided travelers through long nights, warmed storytellers, and stood beside scholars as they shaped the foundations of our world. This is not a history of wars or kings, but a softer story, one told in shadows on stone walls, in melted wax, and in the patient glow that taught humanity how to live with the night. As you listen, allow the rhythm of the flame to slow your thoughts, soften your breathing, and carry you gently into rest. If you find calm in these quiet histories, take a moment to subscribe. New gentle stories arrive regularly, designed to help you relax, unwind, and drift into deep sleep. Long before fire became something struck from a match or summoned with a switch, it was a living presence, unpredictable, dangerous, and astonishing. For early humans, fire was not merely a tool. It was a force that demanded attention, respect, and care. To understand the first controlled fire is to understand one of the most intimate relationships humanity has ever formed with nature. Forest burned with terrifying speed, destroying and renewing the land in the same breath. Early humans watched from a distance, their hearts caught between fear and fascination. Fire moved like a creature, alive, hungry, and unstoppable. It roared, crackled, and consumed everything it touched. Yet it also glowed with warmth, pushed back the night, and transformed the landscape in ways no other force could. At first, fire was something to flee from. It burned skin, destroyed shelters, and killed indiscriminately. But over countless generations, observation slowly softened fear into curiosity. Humans noticed that animals avoided burned ground, leaving behind exposed roots and roasted remains. They noticed that fire drove away predators and insects. They felt its warmth on cold nights and saw how it hardened wooden tips and softened tough food. Fire was terrible, but it was also generous. The earliest step toward control did not begin with creating fire, but with keeping it alive. When a natural fire burned itself out, small pockets of embers sometimes remained, glowing faintly beneath ash. These embers were precious. They were fragile suns that could die with a careless breath. Early humans learned to guard them, sheltering them from wind and rain, feeding them dry leaves and twigs. Fire became something that had to be tended, watched, and protected, not conquered but cared for. This care marked a profound change. To tend fire required patience. Someone had to stay awake while others slept. Someone had to learn which materials fed the flame gently and which smothered it. Fire taught attention, carelessness, and rewarded steadiness. In this way, fire may have shaped human behavior as much as humans shaped fire. Carrying fire through darkness was an act of courage and foresight. Early humans learned to transport embers inside hollowed wood, wrapped in bark or dried fungus. A glowing coal became a traveling companion, carried across landscapes as valuable as food or water. To lose fire meant returning to cold, darkness, and danger. To preserve it meant survival. With fire came longer days. Night no longer ended activity. People gathered around flames, their faces illuminated by flickering light, shadows dancing on cave walls and shelters. This was a new kind of time, communal time. Stories could be told. Skills could be shared. Elders could teach without rushing daylight. Fire may have been the first center of human culture, drawing people together into circles of warmth and shared attention. Food changed as well. Cooking softened tough roots and meat, making them easier to chew and digest. This likely altered human bodies over generations, allowing energy to be redirected toward growing brains rather than processing raw food. Fire transformed taste, texture, and safety. Meals became predictable, nourishing, and communal rather than rushed acts of survival, but fire was never fully tamed. Even controlled, it demanded humility. A neglected flame could escape, turning shelter into danger. Smoke could choke and blind. Sparks could leap unexpectedly. Early humans learned to read fire's moods. Its color, its sound, its hunger. This reading of flame became a quiet skill passed down through generations, rarely spoken, always practiced. The act of guarding fire also introduced responsibility. Someone had to be assigned to watch it. This role mattered. It required trust. Fire watchers may have been among the earliest specialists, not hunters or gatherers, but keepers of warmth and light. Their vigilance protected the group through freezing nights and lurking threats. Fire reshaped landscapes, too. Controlled burns cleared undergrowth, encouraged new plant growth, and attracted grazing animals. Early humans began to understand that fire could be used deliberately, not just endured. It became a partner in shaping the world. Crude at first, but effective. Emotionally, fire offered comfort. Its steady glow reduced fear of the dark. Its warmth soothed tired bodies. Its light created a sense of safety in an otherwise hostile world. For children, fire may have been the first constant, something that could be relied upon, something that returned each night if cared for properly. In this sense, fire may have been humanity's first sense of home. Over time, fire took on meaning beyond survival. Flames became symbols of life, continuity, and presence. To keep fire alive was to keep the group alive. Letting it die carried weight, perhaps shame or grief. Fire began to feel almost sacred, even before formal rituals existed. The relationship between humans and fire was not domination, but coexistence. Fire could not be forced. It had to be invited. It had to be fed, sheltered, and respected. This dynamic shaped human thinking, teaching cause and effect, patience and responsibility. Fire responded not to strength, but to care. As generations passed, techniques improved. People learned to strike sparks from stone, to generate fire rather than wait for it. But the mindset remained the same. Fire was still something precious. It still required attention. Even when creation became possible, preservation remained essential. In the quiet hours of prehistoric nights, firelight flickered against stone and skin, illuminating the earliest expressions of humanity. Gestures, markings, shared silence. Around these flames, bonds formed. Communities deepened. Memory stretched further back, anchored by repeated nights around the same glowing center. Fire also introduced rhythm. It needed fuel at intervals. It burned down and had to be renewed. This rhythm may have influenced early concepts of time, cycles of feeding, watching, resting. The flame taught humans to anticipate the future, to plan ahead, to prepare before need became crisis. There is something deeply intimate about fire. It invites closeness. People instinctively gather near it, leaning toward warmth and light. This instinct remains today, echoing those first nights when fire stood between humanity and the vast unknown. The first controlled fire was not a single moment of triumph, but a long, quiet relationship built over thousands of years. It was learned through failure and loss, through fires that died too soon or grew too wild. Each mistake taught caution. Each success reinforced care. In tending fire, early humans practiced something profoundly human, nurturing something fragile that could not survive alone. Fire depended on them, just as they depended on it. This mutual dependence may be one of the earliest foundations of human identity. Even now, when we light candles or sit by campfires, the body remembers. The slowing breath, the sense of safety. These reactions are ancient, carried within us from ancestors who once guarded embers through darkness, knowing that if the flame survived, so would they. The first controlled fire was not loud. It did not announce itself as a revolution. It flickered quietly, trembling in the night, watched by patient eyes. But from that fragile glow grew warmth, culture, memory, and time itself, all born from the simple, enduring act of care. Long before fire became something humans could summon at will, it existed as a distant and terrifying force. It arrived without invitation, roaring across dry land or descending from the sky in blinding strikes of lightning. For early humans, fire was first known as destruction, a thing that devoured forests, sent animals fleeing, and left the ground black and unfamiliar. Its heat could scar skin in moments. Its smoke could steal breath. Fire was not gentle, and it did not explain itself. It simply appeared alive and hungry, and yet even in fear there was watching. From the edges of burning fields and charred woodlands, early humans observed what fire left behind. They noticed that predators avoided the burned places. They saw that certain foods tasted different, softer, richer, when touched by heat. They felt warmth lingering long after flames had passed, radiating from stones and earth. Slowly, almost unwillingly, fear began to share space with curiosity. The first relationship with fire was not about mastery. It was about proximity. Standing close enough to feel warmth without being consumed required instinct, trial, and caution. Caution. Fire punished mistakes immediately. Too close and pain followed. Too careless and destruction spread. Early humans learned these lessons not through instruction, but through experience passed silently from one generation to the next. At some point, perhaps many times in many places, humans realized that fire could be kept. When natural flames died down, small embers sometimes remained, faint red hearts glowing beneath ash. These embers were fragile, easily extinguished by wind or moisture, yet they held incredible potential. An ember was fire in waiting. Protecting it meant warmth could return. Losing it meant starting over, or enduring cold darkness until nature provided fire again. Keeping fire alive became one of humanity's first long-term responsibilities. It required constant attention. Someone had to watch it while others slept. Someone had to understand which materials fed it gently and which caused it to choke and die. Fire taught patience in a world that often demanded speed. It could not be rushed. It responded only to care. This care transformed human behavior. Fire encouraged stillness. It rewarded observation. It demanded foresight. To maintain a flame through the night meant planning ahead, gathering fuel before darkness fell, sheltering the fire from wind, understanding how much to feed it without letting it grow wild. These were quiet skills, learned slowly, refined over lifetimes. Carrying fire was one of the most delicate acts early humans performed. Embers were transported inside hollowed wood, wrapped in bark, or preserved within dried fungi that could smolder for hours. To walk with fire was to walk with danger and hope together. Every step mattered. Every stumble risked extinction of the flame. Fire became a companion, not owned but escorted. With fire, the night changed. Darkness no longer meant helplessness. A small circle of light pushed back fear and uncertainty. Shadows still danced, but they were contained, defined by the glow. People gathered closer, drawn by warmth and visibility. Faces became familiar in flickering light. Eyes met. Gestures slowed. Fire created a center, and humans arranged themselves around. This gathering altered social life in profound ways. Around fire, stories could unfold without urgency. Knowledge could be shared without daylight pressure. Elders could speak. Children could listen. Silence itself became meaningful. The fire became a shared focus, something everyone watched, something everyone protected. It taught cooperation without words. Food, too, was transformed. Raw plants and tough meat softened when exposed to heat. Flavors deepened. Meals became safer, more predictable. Cooking likely reshaped human biology, allowing bodies to extract more energy with less effort. But beyond physical change, cooking created ritual. Eating together by fire became a daily rhythm, reinforcing bonds and shared survival. Fire also altered the sounds of night. The crackle of burning would replace distant animal calls. The hiss of embers became familiar. These sounds signaled safety. They meant predators kept their distance. They meant warmth would last a little longer. Over time, these sounds may have become comforting, signals that all was well. Yet fire never stopped being dangerous. It demanded respect at all times. Sparks leapt unexpectedly. Smoke burned eyes and lungs. Flames could grow too fast if fed carelessly. Early humans learned to read fire's behavior, its color, its movement, its hunger. A calm flame moved slowly and steadily. An angry flame roared and danced wildly. This reading of fire became an unspoken language, passed through observation rather than instruction. The responsibility of tending fire may have shaped early social roles. Those who watched the flame held power, not through dominance, but through trust. A neglected fire could cost lives. A well-tended one ensured survival. Fire watchers learned discipline and patience, staying awake while others rested. Their vigilance protected the group from cold, predators, and despair. Fire reshaped landscapes as well. Controlled burning cleared brush and encouraged new growth. Certain plants returned stronger after fire passed. Grazing animals followed fresh growth, bringing hunting opportunities. Early humans began to understand that fire could be used intentionally, not just endured. It became a tool for shaping the environment, even if its effects were not fully understood. Emotionally, fire offered something rare in the ancient world: comfort. Its warmth eased aching bodies. Its light reduced fear. Its presence suggested continuity. If the fire burned tonight, it could burn tomorrow. For children born into a world with fire, it may have felt eternal, something that always existed, something that could be trusted. Over time, fire gathered meaning beyond practicality. It became symbolic. Those symbols may not have been spoken. A living flame meant life continued. An extinguished one may have felt like loss. Fire began to occupy a space between survival and spirituality, even before belief systems formed. It was a presence, almost a witness. The relationship between humans and fire was never one of full control. Fire could not be commanded. It responded only to cooperation. Feed it too much, and it raged. Feed it too little, and it died. This balance taught humility. It showed that power did not always come from force, but from understanding. As techniques improved, humans eventually learned to create fire deliberately, striking sparks from stone or generating friction. This marked a turning point, but not an end to the old relationship. Even when fire could be made, it still needed care. Creation did not remove responsibility. Fire remained something precious. In the quiet glow of prehistoric nights, firelight illuminated more than faces. It lit the earliest expressions of art, markings on stone, gestures shaped by shadow. It may have inspired imagination, allowing humans to see forms and meanings in flicker and movement. Fire invited thought that drifted beyond immediate survival. Fire also introduced rhythm into life. It burned down and had to be renewed. Fuel ran out and needed replenishment. These cycles may have shaped early concepts of time, not measured in numbers, but in needs and responses. Feed the fire. Watch the flame, rest when it is safe. Wake when it fades. There is something intimate about fire that remains unchanged. It invites closeness. People instinctively sit near it, lean toward it, watch it without effort. This instinct is ancient, embedded deep within human memory. It comes from nights when fire stood between safety and danger, warmth and death. The first controlled fire was not a single discovery, but a gradual learning that unfolded across generations. It was shaped by mistakes. Fires lost to rain, flames grown too large, embers dropped and extinguished. Each failure taught caution. Each success reinforced care. In tending fire, early humans practiced nurturing something that could not survive alone. Fire depended on them. This mutual dependence may have been one of the earliest lessons in responsibility. The understanding that survival sometimes requires protecting something fragile. Even now, when we light candles or sit beside campfires, the body remembers. Breathing slows. Attention softens, thoughts drift. These reactions are not learned. They are inherited. They echo nights long past when ancestors watched glowing embers and felt, perhaps for the first time, that the world could be held at bay by a single patient flame. The first controlled fire did not announce itself with triumph. It flickered quietly, trembling in darkness, guarded by careful hands. But from that fragile glow grew warmth, cooperation, memory, culture, and time itself, all born from the simple, enduring act of care. Long after fire became familiar, before candles took their modern shape, flame had already crossed a quiet boundary in the human mind. It was no longer only warmth or protection. It had become meaning. Across distant lands and unrelated cultures, people began to sense that fire was not just a physical presence, but something that stood between worlds, between light and darkness, life and death, the seen and the unseen. A flame rises upward, yet is rooted below. It consumes, yet it gives light. It is alive, yet it has no body. These contradictions may have made fire feel closer to spirit than substance. As human thought deepened, flame slowly transformed from a survival tool into a symbol, one that could carry intention, memory, and reverence. The earliest sacred flames were likely not candles as we know them, but carefully tended fires kept alive in special places. These fires were separated from cooking flames and warming hearths. They were watched with extra care. Letting them die may have felt like a rupture, not just of light, but of continuity. A living flame meant connection remained unbroken. Over time, as materials improved and people learned to shape fat, wax, and fiber, fire became smaller, more intimate. The candle was born not as decoration, but as devotion made visible. A candle allowed fire to be held, offered, and directed. It was flame given form. Across civilizations, candles and lamps appeared wherever humans sought meaning beyond themselves. In temples, shrines, caves, and quiet rooms, small flames were lit with purpose. These flames were not meant to dominate the space. They were meant to witness it. Their steady glow suggested presence, something watching, listening, receiving. In many ancient cultures, light was associated with life itself. Darkness was uncertainty, danger, and the unknown. To introduce flame into darkness was to assert existence. Lighting a candle became an act of hope, a declaration that life continued even in sorrow, even in fear. Candles became offerings because they asked for nothing back. A candle gives itself completely. It consumes its own body to create light. This act of self-giving may have resonated deeply with human intuition. To offer a flame was to offer effort, time, and substance, a quiet sacrifice that spoke without words. In burial rituals, candles and lamps accompanied the dead across cultures separated by oceans and centuries. From ancient Egypt to Rome, from early Asia to later Europe, flame was placed beside those who had passed. It was believed to guide, to comfort, or to honor. Even when beliefs differed, the instinct remained the same. The dead should not travel in darkness. For the living, lighting a candle for the dead became a way to keep connection alive. The flame flickered like memory itself, unstable, fragile, yet persistent. As long as the flame burned, remembrance endured. When it went out, silence followed. Candles also became symbols of time. A burning candle marked passing hours, not with numbers, but with melting wax. This slow disappearance gave flame a meditative quality. Watching a candle burn was watching time itself dissolve. In sacred spaces, this reinforced the feeling that the present moment mattered. In places of prayer, candles often multiplied. One flame became many, each representing a voice, a wish, a burden, or a gratitude. Together they formed a field of light, quiet, trembling, alive. No two flames moved the same way, yet all burned toward the same end. This unity within individuality mirrored human experience. The flame was also believed to carry messages. Smoke rose upward, disappearing into air, suggesting communication with realms beyond sight. In some traditions, prayers were spoken aloud as candles were lit, trusting that the flame would carry intention where words could not reach. Light pushed back not only darkness but unseen dangers believed to dwell within it. A candle left burning through the night guarded homes, infants, travelers, and the sick. The flame became a sentinel, small but resolute. Festivals of light emerged wherever winter grew long and darkness deepened. Candles were lit not for necessity but for reassurance. They reminded communities that light would return, that cycles continued, that hope was not extinguished. In these moments, flame became collective memory made visible. In some traditions, candles marked transitions: birth, coming of age, marriage, death. Each life stage was accompanied by flame, acknowledging change while maintaining continuity. Theme element witnessed beginnings and endings, suggesting an unbroken thread through all human experience. Candles were also used in quiet personal rituals. A single flame in a silent room allowed reflection without distraction. The soft light calmed the mind. The slow movement of the flame encouraged stillness. In this way, candles became tools for inward listening. Monasteries, temples, and sacred schools often relied on candlelight for reading and writing. Sacred texts were copied by hand beside trembling flames. Ink dried slowly. Shadows danced across pages. In this environment, learning itself felt reverent. Knowledge emerged slowly, illuminated by patience. Flame was also linked to truth. A candle reveals without overwhelming. It does not flood a space with light. It allows shadows to remain. This balance may have given it symbolic power. Truth that is gentle, partial, and human. In moments of crisis, candles offered solace. During plagues, wars, and long nights of uncertainty, people returned to flame. Even when explanations failed, lighting a candle created a sense of action, a way to respond when control was lost. Over centuries, religions formalized candle rituals, assigning meanings to colors, numbers, and placement. Yet beneath these systems, the instinct remained simple. Humans felt that light mattered, that flame held significance beyond utility. Even in cultures that did not use candles, oil lamps served the same symbolic role. The shape changed, the fuel changed, but the flame remained central. This consistency suggests that reverence for fire arose independently, again and again, across human history. As technology advanced and artificial lighting replaced candles, sacred flame did not disappear. Instead, it retreated into intentional spaces. Candles became optional, chosen, meaningful. Their rarity increased their power. Today, even in brightly lit cities, people still light candles for remembrance, prayer, meditation, and mourning. During power outages, candles feel different from electric light. more personal, more ancient. Their glow carries memory. When a candle is lit in silence, something shifts. Sound softens. Movement slows. Attention gathers. This response is not learned, it is inherited. It echoes countless moments across history when flame marked significance. Candles as sacred objects endure because they ask us to pause. They remind us that light can be small and still matter. That time passes whether we watch it or not. That presence can be quiet. The flame does not promise answers. It offers companionship. It burns beside us, steady and vulnerable, until it is gone. And perhaps that is why it became sacred, because it reflects life itself. Across civilizations, across centuries, across beliefs, humans return to flame, not for spectacle, not for power, but for meaning, remembrance, and connection with what lies just beyond sight. Even now, as you imagine a candle burning, its gentle light reaching outward, you participate in this ancient ritual. A simple flame, a shared memory, a quiet bridge between worlds. Candle long before streets glowed with electric certainty, and rooms were flooded with artificial brightness, night arrived with weight. Darkness was not simply the absence of light. It was a presence that reshaped the world. When the sun fell below the horizon, life slowed, narrowed, and turned inward. Candlelight did not erase the night. It softened it, shaping human existence around a fragile, flickering glow. Before lamps and bulbs, light was precious. It had to be earned, prepared, and maintained. As evening approached, people gathered fuel, trimmed wicks, saved oil or measured wax. Light was not taken for granted. It was anticipated. The coming of night was not resisted but accommodated, and candlelight became the gentle mediator between human intention and natural darkness. Sleep itself was shaped by flame. Nights were long, but not endlessly active. Candlelight was too weak and too costly to allow constant wakefulness. Instead, it created pockets of activity surrounded by rest. People slept earlier, woke earlier, and often slept more than once. The night was divided not by clocks, but by fatigue, flame, and instinct. In many households, the first sleep began shortly after darkness fell. Candlelight guided final tasks, quiet meals, brief conversations, simple repairs. When the flame was extinguished, sleep followed naturally. Hours later, some awoke in the deep night, lighting candles again for prayer, reflection, or intimate conversation, before returning to rest. This segmented sleep was not disorder. It was rhythm shaped by light's limitations. Candlelight made silence familiar. Without constant brightness, the night encouraged stillness. Sounds carried farther. Thoughts moved slower. The mind learned to settle. The soft glow of a candle did not stimulate. It soothed. Shadows moved gently, never sharply defined. This environment allowed rest to come without force. Work, too, bent itself around flame. Certain tasks were reserved for daylight: farming, building, travel. Night work existed, but it was selective. Candlelight was best suited for careful, patient tasks: sewing, mending, writing, reading, tool repair. These were quiet acts performed slowly, often alone or in small groups. Because light was limited, work was deliberate. Every movement mattered. Mistakes were costly when vision was poor. This encouraged mindfulness. People learned to work with care, not haste. The pace of life was dictated by what candlelight allowed, not by ambition or demand. For scholars, monks, and scribes, candlelight shaped knowledge itself. Sacred texts, letters, and records were written beside trembling flames. Ink dried slowly, eyes strained. Progress was gradual. This slowness may have influenced thought, encouraging contemplation rather than speed. Ideas unfolded over years, not minutes. Prayer found a natural home in candlelit darkness. Across cultures, night was seen as a time when the boundary between worlds grew thin. Candlelight did not banish mystery. It acknowledged it. In temples, churches, mosques, shrines, and homes, flames burned as symbols of presence, human presence before the divine and divine presence within the human world. Prayers spoken by candlelight carried a different weight. The stillness sharpened intention. The flame became a focal point, steady yet alive, drawing wandering thoughts back to the moment. Many traditions believe that light guided prayers upward, carrying words beyond reach. Candlelight also shaped communal life. Families gathered closer at night, drawn inward by darkness. Stories were told not to entertain endlessly, but to fill the space between sunset and sleep. Oral tradition thrived in this environment. Memory became essential. Stories had to be remembered, not referenced. Children grew up associating candlelight with safety. The glow signaled that adults were near, that warmth remained. The extinguishing of the flame marked bedtime not as punishment, but as transition. Night had rules, and candlelight gently enforced them. Outside the home, candlelight was rare. Streets were dark. Travel after sunset was dangerous and avoided when possible. This created clear boundaries between day and night. The world contracted after dusk, pulling people toward shelter and familiarity. Communities became quieter, more inward-looking. This darkness fostered awareness of natural cycles. The moon mattered. Weather mattered. Seasons mattered. Candlelight could not overpower winter's long nights or summer's brief ones. Instead, humans adapted. Life slowed in winter, stretched in summer, following the sun rather than defying it. Festivals of light emerged as responses to darkness. During the longest nights of the year, candles multiplied, filling spaces with shared glow. These were not displays of excess, but affirmations of endurance. Light was celebrated precisely because it was fragile. In sickness and death, candlelight took on deeper meaning. Vigil candles burned through the night beside the ill or dying, marking time when words failed. The steady flame offered companionship when sleep was uneasy and fear close. Reminded watchers that they were not alone. In times of danger, candlelight could be hidden or extinguished entirely. Blackouts existed long before electricity. During wars or threats, flames were concealed to avoid detection. Darkness became protection. In these moments, the absence of candlelight was as meaningful as its presence. Candlelight also taught impermanence. A flame burned down, always. Wax melted. Oil ran out. No light lasted forever. This daily experience of disappearance may have shaped human acceptance of endings, sleep following wakefulness, night following day, life following birth. Without constant light, people learned to trust darkness. Not all darkness was evil. Much of it was simply rest. The night allowed bodies to recover and minds to wander. Dreams became important, carrying meaning and mystery. Candlelight framed sleep rather than interrupting it. The rhythm of night and day was clear and unavoidable. Morning arrived with relief and promise. Evening brought closure. Life unfolded in cycles rather than streams. Candlelight marked these transitions gently, without urgency. When artificial lighting eventually arrived, it disrupted these ancient rhythms. Nights grew shorter, sleep shifted, work expanded. But something was lost, the natural slowing that candlelight enforced. The mind no longer had permission to rest simply because darkness fell. Even now, when a candle is lit, the body remembers. Muscles relax, breathing slows, attention narrows. This response is ancient, shaped by countless nights when candlelight meant safety and rest. Lighting the long nights was never about conquering darkness. It was about coexisting with it. Candlelight did not turn night into day. It honored night while making it livable. Before lamps and bulbs, humans lived in partnership with darkness. Candlelight shaped when they slept, when they worked, when they prayed, and when they dreamed. It taught patience, restraint, and awareness of time's passage. The long nights were not empty. They were filled with quiet activity, shared warmth, whispered words, and slow-burning thought. Candlelight gave just enough illumination to live, and no more than was needed. And perhaps that balance is why candlelight still calms us. It reminds us of a time when life moved at the speed of flame, steady, fragile, and human. Before the invention of lamps, bulbs, or any form of electric light, human nights were governed by darkness. The sky itself offered little illumination beyond the silver glow of the moon or the scattered sparkle of stars, and the hours after sunset were filled with uncertainty, silence, and quiet danger. In this world, light became not just useful, but essential. Candlelight, in particular, shaped the rhythms of life, influencing sleep, work, prayer, and the delicate balance between activity and rest. A single flame in a darkened room had an almost magical quality. Its glow was soft, contained, and inviting. People instinctively gathered around it, drawn by warmth, visibility, and the reassurance it offered. The flickering light traced faces and objects in unpredictable ways, creating movement without sound. In a time when the night held threats both visible and unseen, a candle was more than illumination. It was comfort, guidance, and companionship. The use of candlelight extended across daily life, governing when humans worked and when they rested. In the absence of artificial light, the natural cycle of day and night dictated much of activity, but flame provided a gentle extension of the day. Families could continue preparing food, repairing tools or weaving cloth after the sun had set, without overexerting themselves in darkness. The light of a candle allowed small, careful tasks to be completed, and even the faintest glow could prevent accidents or missteps in the quiet hours. Candlelight also guided sleep in subtle ways. The presence of light delayed the onset of fatigue, allowing humans to remain alert a little longer when necessary, while the gentle flicker encouraged a slow, deliberate winding down. The warm, uneven glow of a flame soothed the senses. It invited reflection, contemplation, and the quiet closure of the day. In this way, candlelight did more than illuminate. It set the pace for the body's transition from activity to rest. In addition to sleep and work, candlelight played a crucial role in spiritual and religious practices. Prayer, meditation, and rituals often occurred after sunset, and the flame provided both literal and symbolic guidance. In dimly lit rooms or sacred spaces, the candle became a point of focus. Its steadiness encouraged concentration, while its fragility reminded participants of life's fleeting nature. Many traditions used multiple candles, their collective glow creating a serene atmosphere in which devotion could deepen. The light was not only practical, it was sacred, a visible connection between the earthly and the divine. Communal life also revolved around candlelight. Families and neighbors gathered in the evenings to tell stories, share news, or simply sit together. The circle of light created intimacy, drawing people close and softening social interactions. Shadows danced on walls, inspiring imagination and quiet wonder. In these moments, the flame became a silent participant, shaping human relationships and social rhythms. Even children, aware of danger yet captivated by the glow, learned patience, caution, and observation around fire. Candlelight also extended the human capacity to create. Artists, scribes, and scholars depended on the steady illumination provided by a flame to continue their work. Manuscripts were copied by candlelight, intricate carvings were detailed, and delicate crafts were perfected in its glow. The flame allowed precision, yet demanded mindfulness. One careless movement could snuff it out or cause damage. Through this, humans learned discipline and focus, understanding that light required attention, and attention brought skill. The natural rhythm of night and day was profoundly influenced by the availability of candlelight. While humans still rose and rested according to the sun, candles allowed a gentle extension of activity into the hours traditionally reserved for sleep. This gradual shift created a new temporal awareness, in which people could mark events, complete tasks, or participate in social and religious life without being entirely governed by sunlight. Candlelight blurred the boundaries of day and night, shaping a rhythm that was intimate, human, and responsive to need. In rural communities, candlelight was essential for navigating domestic and agricultural life. After sunset, families could continue preparing food for storage, mending clothing, or attending to livestock under the gentle illumination of a flame. These small actions ensured survival, continuity, and order. In urban centers where streets were dark and dangerous, candlelight provided guidance within homes and workshops, forming safe spaces for study, craft, and leisure. The presence of a candle indicated care, attention, and an ongoing engagement with life despite darkness. Candlelight also shaped seasonal practices. During long winters, when daylight hours were short, flames became central to survival and community life. Festivals of light, gatherings, and ceremonies often coincided with the darkest months, reinforcing social bonds and providing psychological comfort. In these moments, the flame was more than functional. It was symbolic, representing continuity, resilience, and hope. The psychology of candlelight is subtle, yet powerful. Unlike modern electric lighting, which can be harsh and uniform, the gentle flicker of a flame interacts with human perception in calming ways. Shadows shift slowly, intensity varies, and the movement encourages focus without overstimulation. This may explain why candlelight was particularly effective in evening work, reflection, and ritual. Its light does not demand attention but invites it, allowing minds to relax while remaining engaged. Prayer and ritual under candlelight illustrate its symbolic importance across cultures. From the smallest household altar to the grandest temple, candles served as mediators between human effort and divine presence. Lighting a candle was a conscious act, a tangible expression of intention. The slow consumption of wax mirrored the passage of time, reinforcing the meditative aspect of practice. Observing a candle burn encouraged mindfulness, patience, and an appreciation for transience, all of which aligned with spiritual objectives. Candlelight also influenced art, literature, and storytelling. Writers and poets often worked in evening hours, the flame providing both illumination and inspiration. Shadows cast by candlelight sparked imagination, suggesting forms, figures, and narratives unseen in the harsh light of day. In storytelling, the flicker of flame enhanced suspense, drama, and emotional depth, creating a multi-sensory experience. Even without electricity, the candle enriched life aesthetically and emotionally, contributing to cultural development. In social life, candlelight created defined spaces within darkness. A single flame could turn a corner of a room into a gathering place, a hearth into a classroom, or a table into a dining circle. The light was portable, adjustable, and responsive. Humans learned to manipulate it, using reflectors, holders, and arrangements to maximize illumination and shape the atmosphere. This early mastery of light demonstrates an understanding not only of fire's practical properties, but also of its emotional and psychological impact. The impact of candlelight on daily routine was subtle but pervasive. It regulated sleep by softening the transition from wakefulness to rest. It structured work by providing sufficient illumination for delicate tasks. It enhanced ritual by offering a tangible focal point. It shaped social interaction by gathering people physically and psychologically around shared warmth and light. In these ways, candlelight mediated life, connecting humans to their environment, to each other, and to the unseen rhythms of time. Even when brighter alternatives were available, candles retained symbolic and practical value. Their portability allowed movement through darkness. Their gentle glow reduced eye strain, and their presence created intimacy impossible to replicate with harsh lighting. Communities continued to rely on them for special occasions, religious observances, and domestic routines, underscoring their enduring influence. Candlelight also contributed to human perception of time. Unlike mechanical clocks or natural observation of celestial bodies, a burning candle offered a gradual visual measure. The melting wax, the shortening wick, and the diminishing flame provided a tangible, observable representation of passing hours. This subtle temporal awareness influenced planning, task completion, and the marking of moments in daily life. In education, crafts, and domestic management, the practical and symbolic aspects of candlelight intertwined. Children learned to approach flame with caution and respect, observing elders' careful handling. Craftspeople and scribes developed precision and patience under its guidance. Families negotiated daily chores, meals, and interactions around its gentle illumination. In every sphere, candlelight mediated life, shaping behavior and fostering mindfulness. Candlelight's influence extended beyond individual and household activities. It structured community life, facilitated festivals and ceremonies, and guided spiritual and emotional development. Its role in sleep, work, prayer, and rhythm was profound because it did not merely illuminate. It organized experience. By providing a stable yet delicate reference in darkness, it allowed humans to maintain continuity, connection, and control over the otherwise overwhelming night. In many ways, the candle was humanity's first portable timekeeper and life manager. Its light extended day into night, regulated activity, and offered emotional and spiritual support. It taught responsibility, care, and attention. It invited reflection, creativity, and social cohesion. Its presence bridged the natural world's rhythms and human needs, creating a shared manageable experience of night. As nights passed, generations grew familiar with the candle's patterns. They learned to anticipate its duration, manage its fuel, and interpret its behavior. The flame became both teacher and companion, guiding hands, eyes, and minds through darkness. Even today, when we light a candle, we inherit this ancient knowledge, the understanding that light is precious, and that gentle illumination shapes thought, action, and feeling. Lighting the long nights was more than a practical adaptation. It was a cultural achievement. Candlelight influenced sleep patterns, work habits, spiritual practice, and social cohesion. It mediated the relationship between humans and darkness, transforming threat into opportunity, fear into reflection. Its impact was subtle, pervasive, and enduring, shaping human experience in ways still echoed in modern appreciation for calm, gentle light. In every corner of the pre-electric world, the candle played its quiet role. It taught patience and care, offered guidance and comfort, and created the temporal and emotional framework within which humans lived. Its flame represented continuity, connection, and control over darkness. Through candlelight, humans extended their senses, nurtured social bonds, deepened spiritual engagement, and cultivated creativity. Even in today's brightly lit cities, when we light a candle for relaxation, meditation, or remembrance, we participate in a practice refined over millennia. We inherit an understanding that light mediates life, that gentle illumination fosters reflection, and that the long nights of the past can still be experienced, if only for a moment, in the warm glow of a single, steady flame. Before the world was illuminated by electric bulbs, neon lights, or screens, the written word existed in a world of shadow and flame. Every text, every letter, every carefully inscribed manuscript was created under the quiet companionship of candlelight. A single trembling flame in a silent room became more than illumination. It became a partner, a guide, and a witness to the creation of human knowledge. The flicker of the candle shaped the pace of writing, the mood of thought, and even the endurance of the human hand, leaving traces of its influence in every curve of ink and scratch of quill. In the earliest periods of recorded history, writing itself was a delicate art. Characters were etched into clay, carved into stone, or painted on fragile papyrus. These tasks required not only skill, but patience, concentration, and care. Daylight was limited, and the hours before sunset were precious. Yet the night brought its own opportunities for those who could extend it with the soft glow of flame. In dimly lit rooms, scholars and scribes found a rhythm dictated by the candle, a gentle tempo that connected their work to the passage of time, the stillness of night, and the quiet world outside. Candlelight shaped not only the act of writing but the mind of the writer. Unlike the stark, uniform brightness of modern light, a candle's glow was uneven and fragile. Shadows swayed across pages, reflecting the flickering movement of the flame itself. This interaction between light and darkness influenced perception, attention, and imagination. The scribe's hand moved carefully, conscious of the fragile illumination, fostering mindfulness and precision. Mistakes were not merely errors. They were disturbances in the quiet order that the candle's glow demanded. Every stroke of ink became an act of patience and intention. Learning by candlelight was an immersive experience. Students in monasteries or academies often studied long after sunset, their desks illuminated by small flames that danced softly across manuscripts. The warmth of the candle created a sense of security, while its light focused attention on the page before them. In these quiet rooms, knowledge was absorbed not just through reading, but through the rhythm of flame, the tactile engagement with pen and paper, and the silence that the night enforced. Study became a ritual, a ceremony of focus and care, in which light and thought intertwined. Candlelight also dictated the pace of work. Unlike modern illumination, which remains constant, a candle burns down slowly, steadily consuming itself. Writers measured time by its progression, by the shortening wick, by the diminishing pool of melted wax. This tangible representation of passing hours encouraged discipline and endurance. To write by candlelight was to work in harmony with time itself, acknowledging its passage while committing thought and knowledge to permanence. Letters written under candlelight carried an intimacy that survives across centuries. The faint smudges of ink, the gentle irregularities in script, and the careful pauses in thought were all influenced by the soft illumination. These letters were often private, tender, or urgent, addressed to loved ones, patrons, or colleagues. The flame witnessed human vulnerability, ambition, and creativity, recording not only words but the presence of the writer, their attention shaped by the quiet companionship of fire. The flame guided discovery as well. Great thinkers, inventors, and scholars often worked long into the night, examining natural phenomena, composing theories, or drafting manuscripts of philosophy, science, and mathematics. Candlelight extended the boundaries of the day, allowing curiosity and intellect to persist beyond the limits of sunlight. flickering glow became a companion to thought itself, encouraging reflection, focus, and the steady progression of inquiry. In some ways, the candle shaped the structure of knowledge. Writers learned to work in intervals, lighting a candle for study and extinguishing it for rest. The physical limitations of the flame imposed natural breaks in concentration, allowing ideas to settle, questions to linger, and insight to arise. The rhythm of light and shadow, of illumination and darkness mirrored the rhythm of learning. Effort balanced by reflection, attention balanced by pause, creation balanced by contemplation. The candle also played a symbolic role in learning and writing. Its presence in the study room represented dedication, perseverance, and the pursuit of understanding. To sit with a candle while others slept was to declare commitment to knowledge, to the discipline of study, and to the sacred act of preserving thought. Across cultures and centuries, the candle became a symbol of enlightenment itself, of light cast into darkness, of reason and curiosity piercing ignorance and uncertainty. Even the design of writing tools and spaces was influenced by candlelight. Desks, writing tables, and ink pots were arranged to maximize illumination while minimizing shadows. Quills, pens, and brushes were handled with care, knowing that the soft glow would exaggerate small movements. This necessity shaped human dexterity, encouraged precision, and fostered a deep connection between the physical act of writing and the environment in which it took place. Candlelight also fostered collaboration. Scholars might meet in dimly lit rooms, discussing ideas, reading manuscripts aloud, or copying text together. The shared flame created intimacy and focus, drawing attention toward the subject at hand while dissolving distractions. The rhythm of the candle dictated turns in reading, pauses in conversation, and the flow of thought, creating a collective experience of learning, mediated by gentle light. Across generations, candlelight became intertwined with memory and legacy. Manuscripts created under its glow were preserved, copied, and passed on. Each surviving text carries traces of the conditions in which it was written. The steady tremor of the flame, the care of the scribe, the quiet of night. Even centuries later, these marks remind readers of the intimate, attentive environment that shaped the words, connecting modern observers to the minds and hands of the past. Candlelight also contributed to creativity in subtle ways. Shadows and flickers inspired imagination, suggesting forms, figures, or ideas not visible in the stark light of day. The interplay of darkness and light encouraged lateral thinking, reflection, and poetic insight. Writers and thinkers drew inspiration from the very medium that illuminated their work, allowing the candle to participate in creation both practically and symbolically. In addition, the presence of candlelight in learning emphasized responsibility and care. A neglected flame could die, interrupting work and disrupting the flow of thought. Scholars learned to respect the flame, to monitor its consumption, and to adjust their work accordingly. This relationship mirrored the broader human experience of stewardship, attending carefully to fragile systems, whether material, intellectual, or social. The flame's influence extended to the physical and mental discipline of the writer. Hours of focus, posture, and attention were shaped by the limited directional light. Eyes adapted to shadows, hands moved cautiously yet decisively, and the mind tuned itself to a slower, more deliberate tempo. Learning and writing became exercises in patience, observation, and alignment with the natural rhythms enforced by the candle. In scientific discovery, the candle's steady glow allowed meticulous observation and careful recording. Early chemists, astronomers, and natural philosophers relied on flame to illuminate their experiments, document findings, and sketch diagrams. The candle's presence encouraged meticulousness, as each observation required sufficient light to ensure accuracy. In this way, the flame was a silent collaborator in human understanding of the natural world. Candlelight also had an emotional dimension. Its warmth offered comfort during long, solitary nights of study. Its flicker provided companionship in otherwise silent spaces. Writers and learners often attributed a meditative quality to working under flame, finding solace in the steady presence and allowing the rhythm of light to guide the pace of thought and hand. The act of learning became as much an emotional experience as an intellectual one. In religious and spiritual learning, candlelight held additional resonance. Sacred texts were often studied under flame, the illumination reinforcing the reverence and seriousness of the endeavor. Each flicker mirrored the human journey, fragile, attentive, striving toward understanding. Care. Light and shadow together created an environment conducive to contemplation, moral reflection, and disciplined study. Even in correspondence, the influence of candlelight is evident. Letters sent across distances were often composed late at night under a small flame and carried both the care of the writer and the meditative rhythm of the burning candle. Cool. The act of writing by candlelight lent each word intentionality, each sentence a reflection of careful thought, and each page a record of both content and the environment in which it was created. In homes, workshops, monasteries, and universities, the candle was indispensable. It structured the learning day, guided the flow of work, and inspired reflection. Its presence was constant yet unobtrusive, shaping practice without dominating it. Through the centuries, the candle's glow became synonymous with intellectual pursuit, offering both practical light and symbolic inspiration. Even in modern times, when electricity dominates, the romantic image of a candlelit desk continues to inspire. We associate the flicker of flame with contemplation, focus, and creation. This enduring connection is a legacy of thousands of years of human history, in which the candle shaped thought, nurtured patience, and illuminated the path of discovery. The candle's role in learning and writing is thus both practical and profound. It extends the day into night, enables careful observation and reflection, structures time and attention, and fosters creativity, patience, and mindfulness. It is a silent witness, a companion in solitude, and a partner in intellectual and creative endeavors. Every manuscript, every letter, every observation made under its glow carries the imprint of its light. In imagining the candlelit rooms of the past, one sees the dedication and care of countless generations of humans who labored to record, understand, and express. So, the trembling flame not only illuminated pages, it illuminated minds, guiding thought and fostering the slow accumulation of knowledge across centuries. It connected humans to each other and to the world around them, providing both the light needed to see and the quiet in which to think. Even today, the image of a flame beside an open book evokes the essence of learning itself. Attentive, careful, deliberate, and deeply human. The candle teaches patience, mindfulness, and reverence for knowledge. It reminds us that understanding is often cultivated in quiet moments, under gentle light with focus, care, and the awareness of time's passage. The flame in learning and writing is more than a metaphor. It is a historical reality that shaped the intellectual, cultural, and spiritual life of humanity. Through its presence, humans extended the day, nurtured creativity, recorded thought, and transmitted knowledge across generations. Its influence continues, subtle yet profound, reminding us of the power of gentle illumination and guiding human understanding. Before the age of electric bulbs, fluorescent lights, or even oil lamps in some regions, the night was a world governed by darkness. Humans relied on the sun for rhythm, yet life often required work, reflection, and study long after the sun had disappeared below the horizon. In these quiet hours, a single flame became the companion of thought. It illuminated manuscripts, guided pens and quills, and watched over scholars as they wrestled with questions, ideas, and discoveries. The flame in learning and writing was more than practical. It was a presence that shaped the pace of work, the focus of the mind, and the very texture of human understanding. In dim rooms, the trembling light became an intimate partner to every act of creation, offering guidance without distraction, warmth without intrusion, and rhythm without rush. In the earliest periods of writing, humans relied on clay tablets, stone engravings, and fragile sheets of papyrus. Each medium demanded care and precision. Mistakes could not easily be erased, and the consequences of error were often permanent. To perform such delicate work, adequate illumination was essential. Daylight, though reliable, was limited, and the hours of evening posed challenges for those who wished to continue their labor. Candlelight offered a gentle extension of time, allowing scholars, scribes, and learners to work beyond the constraints of the natural day. Its soft, flickering glow dictated a slower, more deliberate pace, encouraging patience and concentration. The very rhythm of candlelight informed the rhythm of thought, creating an environment in which learning was both disciplined and contemplative. The effect of candlelight on the mind was subtle but profound. Unlike modern electric lighting, which floods a room with brightness, The flame's illumination was partial, uneven, and constantly in motion. Shadows danced across the page, shifting with the movement of the wick and the fluctuations of air. This instability demanded attention and encouraged mindfulness. Writers could not rush. They had to follow the movement of their hand with care, adjusting pressure and angle to maintain clarity. Mistakes became lessons in observation and restraint, as much as in content. Each stroke of the pen or quill was guided not only by intellect, but by the attentive response to light, shadow, and the fragile medium of the page. Students in monasteries, academies, and private households often studied late into the night, relying on the candle's modest glow. The candle became a focal point, concentrating the gaze, quieting distractions, and inviting immersion in thought. In these dim spaces, the act of learning became almost ritualistic. Turning a page, dipping a pen into ink, scratching notes onto parchment, each movement was harmonized with the flame's presence. The body and mind adapted to the subtle cues of light and shadow, allowing concentration to deepen and memory to take root. The act of learning under candlelight was as much about rhythm and environment as it was about content. The flame regulated time, encouraged focus, and shaped perception. The candle's steady consumption offered a tangible measure of time. Unlike mechanical clocks or celestial observation, the flame provided a continuous visual reminder of passing hours. The shortening wick, the melting wax pooling beneath, the gradual diminishment of light, all these indicators created a slow, natural awareness of duration. Scholars used this as a tool for structuring their study, pacing their reading, and planning their writing. When the flame burned low, a natural pause occurred, encouraging reflection and mental processing. When a fresh candle was lit, the rhythm of work resumed. This interplay between flame and activity fostered a mindful, meditative approach to learning and composition. Letters, another crucial form of written communication, were often composed under candlelight. In private chambers, a scholar or loved one might labor over words to send across distances. The candle became a witness to both thought and emotion. Its soft glow emphasized care, intimacy, and intentionality. Each sentence was carefully formed, each word weighed against the quiet of the night. The flame provided both practical light and a psychological companion, reminding the writer of continuity and presence, even in solitude. Through this, candlelight shaped not only the content but the character of written communication, embedding patience, reflection, and attentiveness into the very letters that connected people. Scientific observation, philosophical discourse, and literary creation all depended on candlelight. Early chemists conducted experiments by flame, natural philosophers recorded careful observations, and mathematicians traced symbols into parchment with quills guided by gentle illumination. In every case, the flame allowed the extension of intellectual activity beyond daylight. It made night a usable, contemplative, and productive space. Scholars often describe the quiet intimacy of working by candlelight. The way shadows sharpened focus, the way the flame drew attention to essential details, and the way the gradual passage of hours under flickering light mirrored the slow unfolding of thought. The candle shaped the very pace of creativity. Unlike artificial light, which remains constant, the candle's gradual fading imposed natural intervals for rest and contemplation. Long nights of writing were punctuated by the need to tend the flame, refill oil, or replace a spent candle. These moments, rather than disrupting work, allowed reflection, synthesis, and insight. The rhythm of illumination encouraged balance, sustained effort tempered by mindful pauses, intensity of focus countered by periods of rest. Learning and writing became integrated with the natural tempo of human attention, guided by the flame's gentle progression. Candlelight also played a symbolic role in intellectual life. Its presence represented dedication, perseverance, and the pursuit of understanding. To sit at a desk under a single flame while others slept was to commit oneself to the discipline of thought. The candle stood as a witness to human effort, a silent companion through the long, solitary hours required for study and reflection. Across cultures and centuries, candlelight came to symbolize enlightenment itself, the illumination of mind and spirit amidst the darkness of ignorance. The physical design of writing spaces was influenced by the needs of candlelight. Desks were positioned to maximize illumination while minimizing shadows. Ink pots and quills were carefully placed to remain within reach. and manuscripts were angled to catch the glow. This attention to arrangement shaped the human experience of writing, fostering dexterity, precision, and a delicate awareness of the environment. Learning and creativity were inseparable from the physical context of flame, which directed movement, focus, and intention. Collaboration, too, was shaped by candlelight. Scholars, scribes, and students often shared rooms in flames, reading aloud, discussing ideas, or copying text together. The shared light created intimacy, concentration, and a rhythm for interaction. Turns in reading, pauses in speech, and the circulation of ideas were all influenced by the flame's duration and position. The candle structured both solitary reflection and collective discourse, linking human interaction to the subtle, fluctuating patterns of light. The candle's presence also reinforced responsibility. A neglected flame could die, interrupting work and necessitating careful attention to safety. This nurtured discipline and foresight, reinforcing lessons about care, vigilance, and stewardship. In this way, learning under candlelight was not only intellectual, but practical and ethical. The student or scholar learned to respect the fragile medium upon which knowledge depended, developing habits of attention that carried beyond the immediate act of writing. Candlelight influenced creativity in ways both subtle and profound. Its flickering shadows inspired imagination, suggesting shapes, forms, and ideas not present in the stark clarity of daylight. Many writers, poets, and thinkers describe the candle's glow as conducive to inspiration, encouraging lateral thought, reflection, and introspection. The interplay of light and dark, movement and stillness, created a sensory environment that engaged the mind fully, nurturing insight and discovery. Even spiritual learning was intertwined with candlelight. Sacred texts were read, copied, and studied under its glow. The flame reinforced the reverence of the act, focusing attention while also reminding the practitioner of impermanence, patience, and devotion. Each flicker of the wick mirrored the fragility of knowledge, the transience of understanding, and the necessity of care. Through candlelight, the physical, intellectual, and spiritual dimensions of learning converged, creating a holistic experience. The candle's influence extended to correspondence, record-keeping, and the preservation of knowledge. Letters, diaries, and manuscripts produced under flame often display evidence of careful observation, deliberate pacing, and meticulous craft. The environment shaped both the content and the style of writing, embedding patience, reflection, and deliberation into the very structure of text. Knowledge, memory, and emotion were transmitted through both words and the context of their creation, preserved by the presence of gentle light. Generations of learners internalized the candle's influence. Its rhythm guided study habits, its limitations shaped focus, and its presence encouraged mindfulness. The interplay of flame and shadow, the awareness of passing time, and the quiet solitude it fostered all contributed to the development of intellectual discipline and creative capacity. The candle was not merely a tool. It was an active participant in the cultivation of knowledge, shaping thought as much as illuminating page. Even in modern imagination, the candlelit desk evokes reflection, discipline, and creativity. We associate flame with focus, quiet, and the slow unfolding of thought. This enduring cultural image reflects thousands of years of human history, in which learning, writing, and contemplation were inseparable from the rhythm and presence of flame. The candle continues to symbolize the attentive mind, the reflective soul, and the delicate, patient pursuit of understanding. The candle's impact on learning and writing is both practical and profound. It extends the day into night, structures attention and effort, fosters precision and care, and nurtures creativity and reflection. It is a silent partner in discovery, a witness to thought, and a symbol of human dedication. Every manuscript, letter, and insight produced under its glow carries with it traces of its presence. The rhythm of its flicker, the discipline it demanded, and the intimacy it created. The presence of candlelight shaped the very culture of learning. Scholars learned to respect the fragility of illumination, students adapted to its subtle cues, and entire communities organized around the availability of light. The flame created spaces in which thought could flourish, guiding attention, framing perception, and shaping human experience in profound, enduring ways. Knowledge, creativity, and reflection were inseparable from its gentle, trembling presence. Even today, when we imagine a candle beside an open book, We connect with centuries of human history. The flame reminds us of patience, attentiveness, and the slow unfolding of understanding. It teaches mindfulness, persistence, and the quiet joy of discovery. Through its enduring presence, the candle continues to illuminate not only pages but minds, bridging the gap between past and present, light and shadow, thought and creation. The flame in learning and writing, therefore, is more than a source of light. It is a historical force, shaping intellectual, cultural, and spiritual life across millennia. It has guided hands, focused eyes, nurtured imagination, and disciplined minds. It has fostered reflection, creativity, and the careful transmission of knowledge. Its influence endures in the rhythm of study, the intimacy of writing, and the quiet power of contemplation. Every flicker echoes across centuries, reminding us that light and thought, flame and mind, are forever intertwined. For centuries, long before the convenience of electric lights, televisions, or the hum of modern devices, human life was structured around the soft and steady glow of candlelight. Each evening, as the sun sank below the horizon and darkness crept across villages, towns, and countryside homes, the flicker of a flame became the anchor of daily existence. It was in these quiet hours, under the trembling light, that families gathered, shared meals, told stories, repaired clothing, tended tools, and rested after the demands of the day. Candlelight was not merely functional. It was intimate, formative, and quietly transformative. It shaped human behavior, guided social interaction, and provided a gentle rhythm that structured ordinary life in ways both practical and profoundly emotional. The presence of a candle in a home changed the experience of night. Without flame, darkness could feel oppressive, a cloak that concealed dangers and amplified the unknown. In the presence of light, shadows danced on walls, creating a comforting ambiguity. The flicker of a flame invited closeness. People instinctively drew near, leaning into the glow, their faces softened by warmth and movement. In households, candlelight defined spaces, illuminating the hearth, outlining the family table, casting gentle light on work surfaces, and marking areas of social and domestic activity. Its reach was limited, compelling people to cluster, to gather, to connect. In this way, candlelight physically and socially brought humans together, forming the intimate circles that nurtured family bonds. Even the simplest domestic routines were shaped by candlelight. Preparing meals after sunset required careful attention to detail. Flames were used both for illumination and cooking, their glow guiding hands as ingredients were chopped, stirred, and combined. Children often helped under the watchful supervision of elders, learning skills of the household while being gently conditioned to observe and respect the limitations imposed by light. Sewing, weaving, and mending were all conducted by the soft illumination of flame, requiring dexterity and patience on own. Tasks were slower, deliberate, and conscious, encouraging mindfulness and care. Candlelight was a teacher, guiding ordinary activities with its gentle influence. Beyond practical work, the candle played a central role in storytelling and oral tradition. Families gathered around the warm glow, sharing tales that entertained, instructed, or preserved cultural memory. Shadows cast on walls enhanced the drama, giving movement to imaginary figures, while the flickering light punctuated suspense, elicited wonder, and created a shared sense of engagement. In this atmosphere, stories were more than words. They were experiences shaped by movement, tone, and the intimacy of proximity to the flame. Through candlelight, folklore, legends, and family history were passed down, binding generations with narrative threads illuminated, if only briefly, by gentle fire. The candle also structured rhythm and time in the household. The length of the wick, the pool of wax, and the gradual fading of light dictated natural pauses. Meals were planned, chores completed, and children's routines adjusted according to the duration of illumination. The flame became a temporal guide, subtly regulating activity and rest. Its progress marked the evening, offering an implicit countdown that encouraged mindfulness of time without the imposition of mechanical clocks. Life moved in synchrony with the candle, creating an organic rhythm that connected human activity to both the environment and the passage of hours. Candlelight shaped not only the physical but the emotional contours of life. Its warmth provided comfort after the labor and toil of the day. The glow offered a sense of security, softening the edges of anxiety or fear. Darkness could be vast and intimidating, But a single flame created a boundary, a safe space within which ordinary life could unfold. People learned to trust the small light, to find solace in its constancy, and to associate its glow with care, presence, and familiarity. Through candlelight, domestic life acquired emotional texture, linking physical illumination with psychological comfort. Even ordinary communication was transformed under candlelight. Conversations slowed, voices softened, and attention focused naturally on those present. The limitations of light encouraged listening, observation, and empathy. Gestures became more deliberate, expressions more nuanced, and interactions more intimate. The candle created a shared field of attention, drawing people together in ways modern, diffuse lighting rarely achieves. In its glow, family members learned to notice each other, to respond to subtleties, and to cultivate the interpersonal skills necessary for long-term social cohesion. Work that continued after sunset was also profoundly shaped by candlelight. Craftspeople, farmers, and tradespeople relied on small flames to complete essential tasks, sharpening tools, weaving baskets, repairing clothing, or carving wood. The limited illumination required concentration and care, reducing mistakes and fostering discipline. In workshops and kitchens alike, the candle demanded attention and rewarded diligence, teaching habits of patience and precision. The rhythm of work was directly tied to the rhythm of the flame, linking productivity to natural cycles and creating a balance between human effort and environmental constraints. Candlelight also guided family education. Children learned to read, write, and observe the world under its gentle glow. They followed elders' hands, copied letters, and absorbed knowledge not only through instruction but through modeled behavior. The flame imposed calm, focus, and quiet discipline, fostering environments in which learning was deliberate and immersive. Study by candlelight taught more than facts. It nurtured concentration, attention to detail, and the reflective mindset necessary for understanding. Knowledge acquired in these moments was linked to the sensory, temporal, and emotional context provided by flame, embedding lessons in memory and habit. Evenings under candlelight often became sacred in their own quiet way. Families paused from labor, gathered to share stories, prayers, or songs, and marked the end of the day with shared reflection. Rituals were simple yet profound. A quiet toast before a meal, a moment of gratitude, a song for the household or ancestors. The candle framed these acts, providing both illumination and symbolic continuity. Its glow reinforced the cohesion of domestic life, linking practical action with emotional and spiritual resonance. Ordinary life under candlelight was subtly enriched by these small, meaningful observances. Candlelight also shaped the aesthetic experience of domestic life. Walls, furniture, and objects were transformed by the flickering glow, creating movement and shadow that invited appreciation, imagination, and wonder. Ordinary spaces became dynamic and alive, subtly encouraging creativity and engagement. Children, in particular, learned to see beyond the obvious, to recognize patterns in light and shadow, and to cultivate imagination as a companion to daily life. Candlelight thus nurtured aesthetic awareness as well as practical skill. In communal gatherings, candlelight played a central role. Neighborhood meetings, religious observances, and local celebrations often occurred in spaces illuminated by multiple candles, creating an atmosphere of intimacy, attention, and shared purpose. The soft illumination emphasized presence over distraction, encouraging focused interaction. Participants learned to navigate social relationships with care, to observe nuance, and to coordinate behavior with subtle cues provided by shared light. Candlelight became a social organizer, shaping ordinary human relations as well as domestic routines. Even in moments of leisure, candlelight provided structure and rhythm. Games, storytelling, music, and contemplation all took place within its gentle glow. Time felt slower, sensations more acute, and attention more concentrated. The limited reach of the flame encouraged mindfulness, presence, and appreciation of ordinary pleasures. Life under candlelight was slower, quieter, and more deliberate, allowing ordinary experiences to be noticed, savored, and remembered. Candlelight also mediated the household's connection to the natural world. Nighttime sounds, the chill of air, and the darkness beyond windows were softened and rendered familiar through the presence of flame. The candle created a protective circle in which life could continue, while also reminding inhabitants of the larger cycles of day, night, and seasons. Awareness of nature's rhythm was maintained, not only through observation, but through the interaction of human activity and light. The candle thus linked domestic life to the environment, embedding human routines within natural temporal cycles. Through centuries, families learned to depend on candlelight as both a practical and emotional constant. Its care required responsibility. The flame needed to be protected from drafts, monitored for fuel, and managed safely to prevent disaster. In fulfilling these tasks, people developed attentiveness, foresight, and cooperative habits. The flame's fragility encouraged care, not only for the candle itself, but for the household, the family, and the broader community. Ordinary life under candlelight was therefore intertwined with lessons of vigilance, prudence, and mutual responsibility. Even as technology advanced and alternative lighting emerged, candlelight retained symbolic and practical significance. It continued to mark special occasions, holidays, and moments of reflection. Its historical role in shaping domestic life lent it emotional and cultural weight. The familiarity of flame evoked continuity, connecting modern individuals to countless generations who experienced evenings illuminated by soft, deliberate light. In this way, candlelight remained both a literal and figurative link between past and present. Candlelight in ordinary lives illustrates the profound ways in which small, practical tools can shape human culture. It influenced sleep, work, social interaction, learning, creativity, ritual, and emotion. Its reach extended beyond mere illumination to touch the rhythms of daily life, the development of interpersonal skills, and the cultivation of imagination and reflection. By shaping the structure of evenings, the candle contributed to the formation of character, social cohesion, and cultural continuity. Even today, when a candle is lit for dinner, meditation, or relaxation, we tap into this long history. The flickering glow evokes centuries of ordinary human activity, reminding us of the intimacy, discipline, and quiet joy fostered by its presence. We inherit patterns of attention, reflection, and social connection shaped by countless nights spent under candlelight. Its warmth, its light, and its rhythm remain deeply resonant, carrying echoes of ordinary lives lived in harmony with simple, gentle illumination. Candlelight shaped the ordinary so profoundly because it was both fragile and commanding. Its presence required care, yet its glow offered reassurance. It defined spaces, gathered families, marked time, and framed both work and play. In so doing, it transformed the mundane into an experience suffused with meaning, connection, and quiet beauty. Life under candlelight was slower, softer, and more attentive, nurturing qualities that continue to resonate in human consciousness. Through the centuries, the simple act of gathering around a candle for meals, storytelling, work, or reflection became a shared ritual, repeated across households, villages, and generations. The flame was a silent participant, shaping behavior, interaction, and emotion. Families learned to coordinate, observe, listen, and respond within its glow. Children absorbed attentiveness, patience, and appreciation for subtlety. Adults found comfort, continuity, and guidance. Candlelight structured ordinary life, weaving practical, emotional, and cultural threads into a seamless tapestry. Even in the humblest homes, the candle transformed evening hours into spaces of intimacy and meaning. Its warmth comforted, its light guided, and its presence encouraged reflection. Tasks became more deliberate, conversation more attentive, and social bonds more secure. The flame's gentle rhythm imposed structure without coercion, teaching lessons of patience, care, and mindfulness that persisted long after the candle itself had burned out. In this way, ordinary life under candlelight was both practical and profound, shaping generations through countless small, deliberate actions. Candlelight in ordinary lives reminds us that even the simplest tools can shape the human experience. Its glow-directed activity, nurtured relationships, encouraged reflection, and inspired imagination. By creating a safe, intimate, and attentive environment, the flame allowed ordinary moments to acquire depth and resonance. Across centuries, families have gathered, eaten, told stories, worked, and rested under its warm glow, participating in a shared human tradition that continues to echo today. The candle teaches that even small lights can illuminate hearts, homes, and histories, shaping life in ways both subtle and enduring. For centuries, long before electric lights, glowing screens, or even oil lamps became common, human life revolved around small, flickering flames. Darkness was the natural companion of evening, and night extended far beyond the few hours of twilight. In this quiet, expansive darkness, the candle offered warmth, light, and companionship. Families gathered under its gentle glow to eat, work, rest, and share stories. Candlelight shaped not only physical activity but social patterns, emotional life, and cultural memory. Its soft illumination guided the rhythm of daily life, linking human behavior to the gentle tempo of fire, shadow, and reflection. Each household depended on the candle as an anchor for evening life. A single flame could illuminate a small room, casting its warm glow across faces, walls, and objects. Its reach was limited, compelling families to cluster near the source of light. This physical gathering naturally fostered intimacy. Members of a household leaned toward each other, sharing proximity, conversation, and labor. In the limited circle of glow, relationships deepened, and attention focused. In many ways, candlelight created the first intimate social spaces, a private sphere where the mundane and meaningful intertwined. Daily routines were profoundly shaped by candlelight. Preparing and sharing meals required careful attention. Without the broad illumination of modern lighting, tasks such as chopping, stirring, kneading, or tending fires demanded focus and deliberation. Children often assisted with these tasks under the watchful eyes of adults, learning skills as well as discipline. In such moments, candlelight became a teacher. It guided hands, disciplined attention, and encouraged patience. Mending clothes, weaving baskets, or repairing tools were often undertaken in the glow of candlelight, connecting work with rhythm, mindfulness, and care. Even ordinary conversations were molded by flame. The flickering light demanded quiet focus and proximity. Voices softened, gestures became more deliberate, and listening was sharpened. Without distractions, the candle fostered deeper attention to one another, encouraging empathy, observation, and connection. Families naturally developed patterns of communication shaped by light, learning to take turns speaking, noticing subtle expressions, and responding thoughtfully. Candlelight cultivated social skills that are often overlooked in modern, brightly lit spaces, shaping the very character of domestic life. Storytelling thrived under candlelight. In the evenings, after the day's work was complete, so families and neighbors gathered to share tales. Shadows cast by the flickering flame brought stories to life, giving movement to imaginary figures and heightening drama. Legends, fables, and family histories were preserved, transmitted, and reinterpreted with each telling. The shared light created a shared focus, inviting attention, imagination, and emotional resonance. The flicker of candlelight enhanced suspense, signaled transitions, and framed narrative pauses, embedding oral tradition into the domestic rhythm. Candlelight also subtly structured the passage of time. The length of a burning wick, the pool of wax beneath, and the diminishing glow served as natural indicators of the evening's progression. Meals, chores, and bedtime were often timed according to the candle's duration. Unlike mechanical clocks, which impose rigid divisions, the flame encouraged a gentle awareness of passing hours. Life moved in harmony with its slow consumption, fostering patience, observation, and a deep sense of temporal awareness. The flame marked both continuity and closure, anchoring households in a natural rhythm. Work continued well into the night for many. Craftspeople, weavers, bakers, and farmers relied on candlelight to finish tasks that daylight alone could not accommodate. Its glow guided hands and eyes, promoting care, precision, and focus. Ordinary conversations were elevated by this shared focus, embedding social, emotional, and moral lessons into the rhythm of domestic life. In communal or neighborhood settings, multiple candles illuminated gatherings for work, festivals, or shared meals. The soft light emphasized presence over distraction, drawing people together and encouraging attentive interaction. Community cohesion was reinforced by shared illumination, and social bonds were strengthened by the quiet intimacy of flame-lit spaces. Candlelight, both in homes and in public life, structured social experience, highlighting the interplay between light, human behavior, and cultural continuity. Even moments of leisure and recreation were shaped by candlelight. Games, music, singing, storytelling, and reflection all took place in its glow. Its presence created a tempo, a rhythm, and a mood conducive to both relaxation and engagement. Time seemed slower, perception heightened, and ordinary pleasures became richer. Life moved gently, following the subtle cues of the flame. In such moments, ordinary evenings transformed into experiences suffused with care, reflection, and delight. Candlelight also inspired memory and imagination. Children grew accustomed to associating flame with family presence, warmth, and security. Shadows became companions for play, figures for storytelling, and stimuli for creativity. Adults remembered evenings of youth spent around a flickering flame, linking personal history to the sensory and emotional experience of light. These associations persisted, reinforcing cultural patterns, emotional habits, and collective memory. Over centuries, the candle became central to the architecture of domestic life. It structured sleep, work, study, conversation, ritual, and recreation. Its limitations fostered attentiveness, care, and mindfulness. Its warmth created intimacy, comfort, and psychological security. Its rhythm regulated activity, reflection, and rest. Candlelight transformed ordinary life into a carefully orchestrated dance of illumination, attention, and presence. Even as artificial lighting became more common, candlelight retained symbolic, emotional, and aesthetic significance. It marked holidays, special meals, and personal reflection. It provided calm in an otherwise hectic world, offering a connection to historical patterns and human tradition. Modern households continue to use candlelight for meditation, celebration, or quiet reflection, inheriting centuries of accumulated cultural meaning. The flame remains a bridge between past and present, practical necessity, and symbolic resonance. The influence of candlelight on ordinary life is profound because it integrates the physical, emotional, social, and cultural dimensions of human experience. It dictated daily schedules, nurtured relationships, fostered learning, encouraged creativity, and structured ritual. Its presence required attentiveness and responsibility, yet offered comfort and cohesion. Through candlelight, ordinary moments were infused with meaning, connection, and continuity. Families gathering, eating, telling stories, repairing clothing, tending fires, and resting under candlelight participated in a shared human tradition. Its presence shaped their behaviors, thoughts, and emotions. Children learned patience, observation, and care. Adults found rhythm, comfort, and satisfaction. The home became a place of coordinated activity, emotional warmth, and cultural transmission. Candlelight connected people to each other, to their environment, and to the passage of time in ways that modern illumination rarely replicates. Even the simplest gesture, such as passing a dish, sharing a story, or lighting a new candle, carried both practical and symbolic weight. These acts reinforced social cohesion, attentiveness, and the experience of shared life. Ordinary evenings became moments of quiet ritual, shaped by the gentle glow of flame. Over generations, these patterns embedded themselves into human habit, memory, and cultural practice, creating a legacy that continues to resonate today. Candles' fragility also imparted a lesson in mindfulness and care. One had to protect it from drafts, trim the wick, and ensure fuel was sufficient. These practices cultivated attentiveness, foresight, and responsibility. Care for the flame mirrored care for family, home, and community, reinforcing social and ethical lessons alongside practical ones. Life under candlelight was thus both ordinary and instructive, combining routine with reflection, work with care, and domesticity with moral and emotional growth. Even in modern times, when electric lights dominate, candlelight remains evocative. Lighting a candle evokes warmth. Its flicker recalls centuries of ordinary life structured around its glow. We inherit not only its illumination, but also the rhythms, lessons, and emotional resonance it fostered. In this way, Candlelight connects the present with countless evenings of history, bridging human experience across time. For centuries, families have gathered under candlelight, performing the ordinary acts of life with attention, care, and presence. Its glow-guided hands nurtured relationships and structured time. It encouraged reflection, fostered imagination, and cultivated mindfulness. The soft flicker transformed mundane moments into experiences imbued with warmth, intimacy, and meaning. Through candlelight, ordinary lives were illuminated, structured, and enriched in ways both practical and profound. Candlelight shaped the ordinary so completely that it became invisible in its omnipresence, yet its influence remains deeply ingrained. It guided sleep, work, social interaction, creativity, and emotional life. It created safe, intimate spaces. It framed reflection, nurtured attention, and preserved culture. Generations of humans experienced life under its glow, internalizing habits, rhythms, and lessons that continue to echo today. Candlelight in ordinary lives demonstrates how even small sources of illumination can profoundly shape human experience, forming the architecture of domestic life, memory, and culture. Even in our modern, brightly lit, rapidly moving world, the presence of a candle continues to evoke something deep and timeless. Candles are no longer the essential sources of light they once were, yet they remain profoundly significant. They are symbols of calm, memory, and stillness, reminders of a slower, more deliberate life that persists quietly within human experience. Across homes, rituals, celebrations, and private moments of reflection, the candle maintains its quiet influence, bridging centuries of human practice and memory. In their soft glow, people reconnect with a time when life was paced by natural cycles and when illumination was a deliberate act, shaping thought, activity, and emotion. A candle's legacy today can be seen in the way people intentionally use them to create calm and focus. In an age dominated by electric lights, screens, and constant activity, lighting a candle becomes a conscious choice. It signals a shift from distraction to attention, from noise to quiet. Individuals light candles during meditation, prayer, journaling, or reading, deliberately creating spaces in which stillness is possible. This practice mirrors centuries of human life, in which the flame framed domestic, intellectual, and spiritual activity. The act of lighting a candle is both functional and symbolic. Functional because it illuminates, and symbolic because it represents a pause, a space set aside for reflection or presence. Candles also maintain a strong connection to memory. Across cultures, they are used to commemorate, honor, and remember. Birthdays, anniversaries, memorials, and vigils often involve the lighting of candles, each flame representing a life, a thought, or a memory. In this way, the candle becomes a tangible conduit for human remembrance, linking the living and the absent through light. Its flicker creates a meditative atmosphere, inviting contemplation and quiet reflection. In households around the world, a candle on a windowsill or a dining table recalls generations past, evoking the long history of human life guided by gentle illumination. Even in ordinary domestic life, candles foster mindfulness and presence. People light them to create ritualized spaces, perhaps for evening meals, a quiet bath, or solitary work. The limited reach of the flame draws attention to the immediate space, sharpening perception and inviting calm. In a bedroom, a single candle on a nightstand softens the room's edges, framing sleep and rest. In a living room, candles transform an ordinary evening into an intentional experience, encouraging conversation, contemplation, and relaxation. The candle shapes these moments subtly, suggesting a rhythm to life that contrasts sharply with the ceaseless pace of modernity. The quiet legacy of candles is also evident in spirituality and religious practice. Across cultures and faiths, candles continue to play central roles. In Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, and other traditions, candles are lit during prayer, ceremonies, and rituals. Each flame represents intention, devotion, or focus. Even for those who are not religious, lighting a candle can become a personal ritual, marking the transition from activity to reflection work to rest, or noise to silence. The symbolism of flame as illumination, guidance, and presence has persisted for centuries, enduring even as the practical necessity of candlelight has diminished. Candles also influence social and cultural practices. In restaurants, cafes, and homes, soft candlelight creates an atmosphere of intimacy, calm, and connection. Couples gather around flickering flames, friends converse with a shared focus, and families sit quietly together. In these moments, the candle shapes human behavior, encouraging patience, attentiveness, and emotional connection. Even in modern architecture and interior design, the presence of candlelight is deliberately used to create mood and ambiance, drawing on its centuries-long legacy as a natural regulator of attention and atmosphere. The psychological effects of candlelight are subtle but significant. Studies have shown that soft, flickering light can reduce stress, lower heart rate, and encourage relaxation. This effect mirrors the historical experience of life under flame, when evening activity was paced by candlelight rather than artificial, constant illumination. Today, people use candles to intentionally slow down, to create a sanctuary in time, space, and mind. The candle's glow encourages a rhythm of attention and rest that mirrors ancient patterns of domestic and intellectual life. In this sense, candlelight functions as both a practical and psychological tool, maintaining its relevance even in technologically advanced societies. Candles also provide continuity with cultural memory. Across generations, the lighting of candles has signified both celebration and reflection. Holidays, commemorations, and seasonal observances often incorporate flame as a symbol of life, continuity, and shared experience. A candle connects the past with the present, reminding individuals of practices, rituals, and human experiences that stretch across centuries. By observing these traditions, people participate in a living history, sustaining the human relationship with light, time, and memory. In the context of sleep and evening rituals, candles maintain a profound role. Many people turn to candlelight to create a slower transition from wakefulness to rest to rest state. Pravisity. The warm, flickering glow signals the end of the day, encouraging relaxation and reflection. In this way, the candle continues its historical function as a guide through the evening, regulating attention, mood, and daily rhythm. Sleep, which was once governed by natural light cycles and extended through candlelit activity, can still be aided by the soft illumination and subtle cues of flame. Even modern technology has not replaced the sensory and symbolic power of the candle. Electric lights provide brightness and convenience, but they do not reproduce the gentle movement, warmth, or intimacy of a flame. The candle introduces imperfection, variability, and tactility into human experience. Its flicker is unpredictable yet gentle. Its warmth is tangible. Its light is soft and inviting. In this way, the candle retains an aesthetic and emotional significance that extends far beyond illumination, connecting humans with the qualities of care, attention, and presence cultivated over centuries. The candle's quiet legacy also extends into artistic and literary expression. Writers, poets, and visual artists continue to use candlelight as a motif for calm, contemplation, memory, and reflection. It symbolizes focus, the inner life, and the delicate intersection of thought and perception. This metaphorical power stems from centuries of human experience, in which daily life, study, and ritual were illuminated by flame. Even as its practical role diminished, the candle retained its place in the human imagination as a symbol of contemplation, mindfulness, and deliberate action. Modern mindfulness practices, meditation, and therapy often incorporate candles precisely because of their historical associations with calm and reflection. By focusing attention on a flame, individuals practice presence and observation, cultivating awareness and reducing distraction. The simple act of lighting a candle can mark the beginning of intentional time, signaling to the mind and body that rest, reflection, or creative work is about to commence. In this way, the candle serves as a bridge between historical human experience and contemporary psychological practice, preserving the lessons of centuries-old routines in a modern context. Candles also remain symbols of hope and resilience. During crises, power outages, and moments of uncertainty, lighting a candle becomes an act of both practical necessity and emotional reassurance. The flame symbolizes continuity, stability, and human adaptability. Across generations, humans have relied on candles not only for illumination, but also for the comfort of a stable presence in uncertain circumstances. The quiet legacy of candlelight, therefore, is both practical and profoundly symbolic. It represents the persistence of calm, reflection, and human ingenuity. The influence of candles extends into architecture, design, and communal spaces. Restaurants, cafes, museums, and places of worship often use candles or simulated flame to create atmosphere, intimacy, and focus. Designers recognize the psychological effects of gentle illumination. It encourages slowed breathing, thoughtful interaction, and emotional attunement. In homes, candles remain central to practices of hospitality, ritual, and celebration. The contemporary use of candlelight reflects an enduring appreciation for its power to structure experience, mood, and social interaction. Even in the arts, candles continue to inspire creativity. Painters depict candlelit interiors, capturing the interplay of shadow and glow. Photographers use flame to explore texture, depth, and atmosphere. Writers employ candlelight as metaphor and imagery for insight, memory, and the inner life. The persistent cultural significance of candles demonstrates that their legacy is not confined to utility. It is symbolic, aesthetic, and deeply embedded in human consciousness. Candlelight also fosters connection with the past. Lighting a candle evokes centuries of domestic, intellectual, and spiritual practices. It recalls evenings of study, reflection, storytelling, and ritual shared across generations. In this way, even a single flame bridges temporal and cultural distances, linking the modern observer with a human tradition that values attention, care, and deliberate engagement with time and space. The sensory experience of a candle. The warmth, the flicker, the smell of wax or wick reminds humans of the tangible aspects of life often lost in a digital age. The candle's flame is finite and fragile, inviting careful attention and respect. It teaches mindfulness, patience, and awareness of impermanence, echoing the lessons of historical life under flame. In an era dominated by instant gratification, the candle reintroduces slowness and deliberation, providing a counterpoint to rapid, disconnected, modern rhythms. Candles also play a role in social cohesion today. Gatherings around candles encourage conversation, shared focus, and intimacy. Families, friends, and communities benefit from the slowed pace and gentle illumination, too. The candle creates a shared space of attention and presence, fostering empathy, connection, and emotional resonance. In this sense, the quiet legacy of candlelight continues to shape human behavior, interaction, and social bonds, just as it did centuries ago. Even in moments of solitude, candles retain their power. Reading, writing, meditation, and personal reflection are enriched by the presence of flame. The candle delineates personal space, marks temporal boundaries, and encourages deliberate engagement with one's environment. By providing both light and metaphorical guidance, the candle continues its historical role as a companion to human thought, creativity, and contemplation. The legacy of candlelight is also evident in education and scholarship. Historical reenactments, museums, and cultural institutions often use candles to recreate past environments, teaching visitors about life before electric illumination. In doing so, they preserve awareness of the rhythms, challenges, and sensory experiences of life shaped by flame. Myth. This deliberate preservation ensures that the lessons of candlelight, patience, attentiveness, and the integration of light with thought and activity continue to influence contemporary understanding. In celebration and ritual, candles remain central. Religious festivals, commemorative events, and seasonal holidays around the world incorporate flame as a symbol of continuity, hope, and reflection. Lighting a candle connects participants with generations of observers, performers, and celebrants, sustaining cultural memory that spans centuries. The quiet, deliberate act of illumination embodies the persistence of human attention, care, and intentionality. The candle's quiet legacy is thus both practical and symbolic, personal and communal, emotional and aesthetic. It shapes time, attention, social connection, memory, and reflection. Its influence persists in domestic life, ritual, meditation, art, and social gatherings. Even in a world dominated by artificial light, the candle continues to teach lessons of slowness, mindfulness, and presence, reminding humans that simplicity and subtlety can profoundly shape experience. In this way, the candle is more than an object. It is a repository of human culture, history, and psychological wisdom. Its flame links us to centuries of domestic, intellectual, spiritual, and social practices. Each act of lighting a candle, whether for ritual, reflection, or comfort, participates in this continuum. Soft glow evokes calm, structures attention, fosters presence, and connects individuals with both past and present. The quiet legacy of candlelight lives on, not as necessity, but as a deliberate choice, a reminder that slower, attentive living remains possible and profoundly valuable. Even in the busiest, brightest, and most connected modern lives, candles continue to shape human experience. They remind us of quiet evenings spent with family, of study and contemplation, of ritual and reflection. They provide comfort, calm, and connection, both to ourselves and to a shared human past. In every flicker, there is continuity, memory, and stillness. The candle persists as a symbol and tool, bridging the gap between historical necessity and contemporary choice, between light and shadow, between action and reflection. In lighting a candle today, one participates in a quiet, enduring, human tradition. The flame evokes centuries of careful attention, deliberate work, thoughtful reflection, and shared experience. It teaches patience, fosters mindfulness, and encourages emotional presence. It reminds us that even in a fast-paced, illuminated world, moments of stillness and reflection remain essential. Through its glow, the candle continues to illuminate not only physical space but the inner lives of those who choose to honor its quiet, enduring legacy. Even in a world dominated by electric lights, screens, and the constant hum of modern life, the presence of a candle continues to evoke something ancient, intimate, and profound. Candles are no longer necessities for illumination, yet they retain a quiet significance that reaches across centuries to cross centuries. They are symbols of calm, memory, and stillness, reminders of a slower, more deliberate life that persists quietly within human experience. Across homes, rituals, celebrations, and personal moments of reflection, the candle maintains its subtle influence, connecting the present with the past. In their soft glow, we rediscover rhythms, sensations, and practices that shaped generations long before the advent of electricity. Each flame becomes a bridge between history and the present, inviting us to pause, reflect, and inhabit a gentler tempo of life. The act of lighting a candle today is often deliberate, intentional, and ceremonial. Unlike the flick of a switch, which floods a room with instant, uniform light, lighting a candle requires attention. The process of cutting the wick, placing it in a holder, striking a match or lighter, and watching the flame take hold draws the mind into the present. It signals a conscious departure from the pace of modern life, marking the beginning of a moment set aside for reflection, meditation, or shared presence. This simple, intentional act recalls centuries of human practice when illumination was scarce, precious, and carefully managed. Lighting a candle is both functional and symbolic, linking contemporary experience with a long history of human engagement with flame. Candles today are central to rituals of remembrance and memory. Across cultures, flames are used to commemorate life events, mark anniversaries, honor ancestors, or hold vigils. Birthdays are celebrated with candles on cakes. Memorials often feature candles to honor those who have passed. And religious observances frequently incorporate flame as a symbol of continuity. presence, or devotion. Each flame becomes a tangible expression of remembrance, a small living point of focus that embodies attention, care, and reverence. In this way, the candle serves as a physical and emotional connector, tying contemporary practices to long-standing cultural traditions and human needs for recognition, continuity, and shared memory. Even ordinary domestic life is enriched by candlelight. Many people use candles to create ambiance, calm, and focus. A candle on a dining table, in a living room, or beside a bed transforms ordinary spaces, drawing attention to the immediate environment. The limited reach of the flame softens the room, creating intimacy and quietude. Conversation becomes slower, gestures more deliberate, and the mind more attentive. Candlelight imposes a rhythm, encouraging mindfulness in daily activities. The glow draws attention away from external distractions and back toward the home, the self, or the shared presence of others. In this way, the candle shapes both physical and emotional experience, offering a momentary sanctuary from the pace of modern life. The psychological impact of candlelight is subtle yet significant. Its warm, flickering illumination is soothing, often lowering stress and promoting relaxation. Unlike artificial light, which can be harsh or constant, a candle's glow is gentle, unpredictable, and dynamic. This variability engages attention in a calm, contemplative way, encouraging mindfulness and reflection. Studies in environmental psychology suggest that softer, flickering light promotes emotional calm, enhancing focus and encouraging meditative states. These effects echo the historical experience of life under flame, when candlelight structured evening work, reflection, and ritual. Modern users of candles tap into this enduring psychological effect, consciously or unconsciously connecting with a legacy of human interaction with fire. Candles also influence creativity and artistic expression today. Writers, painters, poets, and musicians often incorporate candlelight into their processes, either physically or metaphorically. The flicker of a flame inspires imagery, narrative, and reflection. Painters explore the interplay of shadow and glow, while writers evoke flame as a symbol of contemplation, memory, or insight. This artistic significance draws on centuries of cultural experience in which human thought, study, and storytelling occurred in the presence of candlelight. The flame's persistence in the arts reflects its enduring capacity to shape perception, imagination, and mood. Social and communal practices continue to rely on candlelight as a means of creating connection and intimacy. Restaurants, cafes, and public gatherings often incorporate candles to foster an atmosphere of warmth, focus, and calm. Families may gather around a candlelit dinner to share stories, conversation, and reflection, echoing centuries-old domestic patterns. Even in digital or technologically advanced settings, the presence of flame promotes slower interaction, deeper attention, and a heightened awareness of the immediate environment. Candlelight shapes social experience, creating spaces for meaningful human connection, attentive listening, and emotional resonance. In religious and spiritual practice, candles remain deeply significant. Across Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, and other traditions, flames are used to symbolize devotion, intention, and illumination of the mind or spirit. Lighting a candle during prayer or ritual connects individuals with centuries of predecessors, maintaining continuity of practice, symbolism, and intention. Even for those who are not religious, candlelight often serves as a tool for meditation, reflection, or focus, preserving the contemplative and mindful qualities historically associated with flame. In these practices, the candle's quiet presence encourages both inward reflection and outward connection to a broader cultural and spiritual heritage. Sensory qualities of candlelight remain compelling. The warmth of a flame, the subtle scent of burning wax, and the gentle movement of flickering light create an experience that engages multiple senses simultaneously. Unlike artificial light, which is uniform and often impersonal, a candle invites presence, attention, and participation. It reminds humans of the tactile and temporal qualities of light, prompting slower, more deliberate interaction with space. objects, and one another. This sensory richness links modern practice with the historical human experience when the flame was central to both practical and aesthetic life. Candles continue to serve as markers of temporal rhythm. The burning wick, the melting wax, and the eventual extinguishing of a flame all provide natural indicators of time's passage. Even in a world of precise clocks and instant communication, observing the slow progress of a candle fosters patience, awareness, and reflection. Families, friends, and individuals use candles to structure activity, whether for prayer, study, celebration, or quiet contemplation. In doing so, they participate in a centuries-old human engagement with the temporal qualities of flame. The symbolic value of candlelight extends to hope, resilience, and continuity. In moments of crisis, darkness, or uncertainty, lighting a candle is an act of both practical necessity and emotional reassurance. During power outages, vigils, or memorials, the flame provides presence, warmth, and stability. It embodies continuity and endurance, linking the present with a legacy of human experience in which candlelight offered both guidance and comfort. Across generations, the candle has represented more than illumination. It has symbolized persistence, attention, and the human capacity to create calm and order in uncertain circumstances. Even in modern education and scholarship, candles remain tools of historical understanding and engagement. Museums, historical reenactments, and educational programs often use candlelight to recreate past environments, allowing participants to experience the rhythms, attentiveness, and sensory qualities of life before electric lighting. This experiential approach preserves awareness of historical, domestic, intellectual, and spiritual practices, ensuring that the lessons of candlelight, mindfulness, attentiveness, and presence continue to influence contemporary understanding. Buffa. Through these encounters, the flame bridges the gap between past and present, illuminating not only physical space but human perception and memory. Candles also shape memory and personal reflection. The act of lighting a candle often evokes recollections of childhood, family, or cultural tradition. Individuals may remember evenings spent reading, studying, celebrating, or conversing by candlelight, linking their present experience with personal and collective history. The flame becomes a point of continuity, connecting individual experience with the broader human past. In this way, candlelight is both intimate and universal, simultaneously personal and cultural, evoking reflection, continuity, and meaning. Modern mindfulness and meditation practices frequently incorporate candlelight, drawing on its centuries-long association with focus and calm. Observing a flame can serve as a point of concentration, helping the mind settle, reduce distraction, and cultivate presence. This practice echoes historical uses of flame for study, reflection, and ritual, demonstrating the candle's enduring role in shaping human attention and consciousness. In this way, the quiet legacy of candlelight continues to inform both spiritual and secular practices, offering timeless guidance in contemporary life. The aesthetic impact of candlelight persists in contemporary interior design, art, and cultural experience alike. Candles are used to create mood, atmosphere, and intimacy in homes, restaurants, and public spaces. The flickering glow enhances the perception of space, texture, and movement, producing an environment that is both visually engaging and emotionally resonant. This aesthetic function draws directly on centuries of human experience with flame, in which candlelight shaped domestic, intellectual, and spiritual life. Its nude use reflects a deep understanding of the ways in which light influences emotion, perception, and social interaction. Candlelight also fosters slow, deliberate social interaction. Gatherings around flame encourage attentive listening, measured conversation, and emotional presence. Families and friends experience shared focus, intimacy, and continuity through the simple act of illuminating space with a small, flickering flame. In these interactions, candlelight maintains its historical function as a regulator of human attention, behavior, and emotional engagement, preserving its subtle influence even in technologically advanced societies. The symbolic, psychological, and aesthetic legacy of candlelight is further reflected in art, literature, and popular culture. Writers, painters, filmmakers, and musicians continue to evoke the candle as a symbol of contemplation, memory, intimacy, and reflection. Its presence communicates calm, focus, and emotional resonance, drawing on centuries of historical association with domestic, intellectual, and spiritual life. The candle's endurance as a motif demonstrates its capacity to shape not only perception but imagination, maintaining its quiet legacy across time and culture. Even solitary activities benefit from the presence of candlelight. Reading, writing, journaling, or meditating by candle fosters concentration, reflection, and mindfulness. The flame delineates personal space and time, framing activity in a manner that promotes attentiveness and calm. In doing so, candlelight preserves its historical role as a guide, companion, and facilitator of reflection and study. The quiet influence of the flame enhances experience, linking present activity with the rhythms, care, and attentiveness of past human practice. Candles also offer connection to natural cycles. In historical life, they extended daylight, regulated activity, and connected human routines to the passage of time. Today, even symbolic observation of a flame reminds individuals of natural rhythms: evening, night, rest, and reflection. By observing the gradual consumption of wax, one becomes attuned to duration, change, and impermanence. This connection between flame and time fosters a contemplative mindset, encouraging reflection on both the immediate present and the continuity of human experience. The quiet legacy of candlelight is therefore multidimensional, practical, symbolic, aesthetic, social, and psychological. It shapes human experience by creating calm, fostering memory, encouraging reflection, regulating attention, and linking present experience with historical practice. Even in the absence of necessity, the candle retains its power to influence human thought, emotion, and behavior, preserving the wisdom, attentiveness, and serenity cultivated over centuries of human life. Lighting a candle today is thus a deliberate act of connection with oneself, with others, and with history. It signals a slowing down, a turning inward, and a marking of time. In its glow, one may remember, reflect, rest, or create. The candle bridges past and present, tradition and innovation, illumination and contemplation. Its quiet legacy endures because it is adaptable, emotionally resonant, and deeply human. Through each flickering flame, the wisdom of centuries continues to guide, calm, and inspire. Even amidst the rush of modernity, the candle continues to remind us that stillness, presence, and reflection are essential. Its light nurtures focus, attention, and calm. Its symbolism evokes memory, continuity, and human connection. Its warmth comforts, and its gentle flicker creates intimacy and engagement. Across homes, rituals, and solitary moments, the candle persists as a symbol and facilitator of the deliberate, reflective, and meaningful life. In its quiet, enduring presence, the legacy of candlelight continues to illuminate the rhythms of human experience, offering a gentle reminder that slower, attentive living remains possible, valuable, and profoundly restorative.